welcome to The Writer's Dream. This is a show where authors are able to talk about how they write their books, how they publish them, and how they market them. You can find us on YouTube. You just have to search my name, Linda Maria Frank, click on my picture, and all of the videos will come up. There are about 110, 120 authors interviewed. So if you're interested in writing and reading, you're going to find some very good books, all local talent, Long Islanders. It's amazing how many writers are here. So that's one place that you can find us. We're on Cablevision on Fridays at 3 o'clock, channel 20. You can find us on Facebook. Guess what? The Writer's Dream. If you want to be on the show, please message me through the Facebook page, and I will see that I get you on the schedule. So today's guest is Diane Calabrese, and she is the author of many spiritual guidebooks, I would call them.
Yes.
Yes, and her career as a recreational therapist has certainly helped her with that, and she's a professor. Talk a little bit more about yourself, Diane.
Sure. I've been a therapist for 30 years. I'm now retired from the VA Medical Center. I worked with all different populations, from children to adults, very diverse populations, mostly in mental health. I worked a lot in palliative care. I worked in nursing homes and some orthopedic care patients I work with. But I ended my career working with veterans. And while working with veterans, I learned a lot of different holistic healing modalities. You know, in recreational therapy, we have to keep it going. We have to keep it different, because we run like 10 groups a week, probably about 3 groups a day, about 10 groups a week. So we have to change up the activities that we do as a recreational therapist. So I learned a lot of holistic healing modalities, and a lot of people don't know what that means. And what it is it's basically it's mind, body, spirit activities like Reiki, aromatherapy, guided meditation, working sometimes with the benefits of crystals or sensory stimulation, or sometimes crafts and music and spiritual modalities. So before I retired, we always had to create like worksheets and pamphlets to give out to our patients. So I'm like, I think I'm going to put a book together before I leave.
Exactly. And, when you talk about holistic healing, I think it's very interesting that this is really taking hold more so than I would say 20 years ago or 30 years ago. And the interesting thing is that holistic healing was the way people healed before the pharmaceutical companies got involved.
Right, true.
And then you think in terms of mind over body. You think about people who walk across coals and lie on a bed. How do they do that? It's mind over body.
It's true. Yeah. It's true.
So
it's just
there's something to it.
Yes, there is. And it's really mind, body, spirit is just knowing that everything's connected emotionally as well as physically. So there's 7 different chakras in your body, which I start out in my book. That's my first chapter, as I explain what mind, body, spirit is. And
what's the title of the book?
Mind, Body, Spirit, and Discovering the Purpose of Life. Okay. So I start out with explaining mind, body, spirit first, and just knowing that there's a connection to all our body parts. And a lot of people might be familiar with the 7 chakras of the body. So, there's 7 different, like, I guess you could call it energy centers in our body. Yeah. So that where disease might affect us mentally as well as physically. So what affects one affects the other. For example, like in the throat chakra, somebody might have difficulty communicating with people, and there might be, which is a very common issue, relationships, right? So they might find that they have hypothyroidism or thyroid cancer, and they find that one relates to the other in that energy center, which is interesting. So I get into that in my book, and I go through all the different chakras of the body, starting from the crown chakra all the way to the root chakra. And then I go into the different modalities. So one of the first ones I talk about is guided meditation. It's been around since ancient times. It's prayer. I mean, prayer, meditation.
What's the
is
difference
same.
between meditation and daydreaming?
It could be the same almost. It depends how you look at it. But like with meditation, you're almost you're not having a fantasy. You're more focused on what's happening. You have more control of what's going on. So, but there's different ways of meditation. So there's different ways to meditate. So a lot of people don't know how to stay focused. And I worked with a lot of patients that have attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
gee. Well, they lost me when they said that I had to clear my mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Really?
Stress relief,
Yeah.
that's what everybody has, stress.
I've done
mental
practically all of
breathing.
these things because
Yeah.
I've had times in my life that were very stressful.
Oh,
And those
yeah.
things were the helpful things
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they had me on a tranquilizer. I got addicted to it. And then I
Yeah.
said, enough of that.
Yeah.
And so I won't take any of those drugs.
Yeah.
So you have to work with something else. You have to work with
Right.
yourself.
True. And a lot of people don't like them. There's side effects to everything. And I agree with that 100%. So, that's where we come into play as recreational therapists.
Yeah, what's a
we-
recreational therapist?
So a recreational therapist, we have activities that we modify for the patients so they can really cope with life's issues, life's problems, because that's the deficit there is they don't have coping skills. So we kind of help.
Give me an
with that.
example.
So if in mental health, like if you're struggling or you have depression or anxiety, like guided meditation would help you deal with anxiety. So just learning to breathe. So like one of the beginning parts of like meditation is just learning to breathe, learning to inhale through your nose and just relaxing, exhaling through the mouth. That's one technique, but some people don't really prefer holistic, or they might want like to do arts and crafts or music, or they might want to do sports. So it's a broad spectrum. It's not like just focused on one thing. So we used to have an aquatic therapy program. Some people who like water or like to do exercises in water might want to release anxiety that way or release tension or stress. So it really depends. So the first thing that we do is just assess everything about the patient, what they used to like to do and what can't they do. And we find out why they're there. If it's for mental health, you kind of know, because
Yeah.
we know it's depression, we know it's anxiety or PTSD. Sometimes there's other factors that come into play, like if they were in a car accident and they have to learn how to walk again or how to engage socially again and do the things that they would like to do, how are we going to do that? So we adapt the activities. So we do that on the unit and we kind of teach them how they could start doing this on their own. And lots of times when the disability is so bad, because I used to work in palliative care where they were on ventilators, and that's probably the most challenging situation I've ever come across because they have no use of their hands, and they can't even speak, so I have to learn to read lips, and I have to learn their lingo. It's like their own sign language, and it's amazing how you pick up very quickly, to just different senses, different looks, or if they're looking to the right or they're looking to the left or they're just nodding and just picking that up. And all of them have their own way of communicating. So when you're working with somebody long enough, you can pick that up, but it's just trial and error, just figuring out what they like.
Sure. So what else do you offer in the book? I know there was a whole list of.
So there's I talk about, I go into Reiki, I go into aromatherapy,
Acupuncture?
hand reflexology. I used to use that a lot in palliative care. Just hand massages, knowing the trigger points, just relaxation techniques. Also like the benefits of crystals. Some people like to hold crystals just as a comfort stone, They say that there's a Pfizer effect in crystals, and I don't know if people are aware of that, but I go into that in my book. So we all have energy, we're made of energy, and so are crystals, and certain crystals have the same vibration of energy as the chakras in our body. They've actually done scientific research on this. So
I taught chemistry, so this makes a lot of sense to me.
So
It really
yeah,
does.
so
Yeah.
So, I mean, can it heal? I'm not sure, but it can help comfort.
alleviates.
Yeah, it's healing, it's comforting. So,
What's your favorite story, success story?
my favorite success story was this woman that I was working with at the VA, and she was there for a couple of years, and she had no use of her legs at all. She was completely bedridden, and she didn't have. I think she was very depressed because of what had happened to her. She had a blood clot in her leg, and they didn't think she would ever walk again. And you know, she was a very spirited person. Her family must have been very religious, and I saw that she had the healing water, the Lord's Grotto healing water. Her aunt had bought it for her, and I thought, well, are you open to Reiki? Because I always ask, and sometimes they are, and sometimes they aren't. For a while, she was saying no, and then she's like, "All right, I'll try it." First she tried meditation. She liked that. She goes, "All right, I'll try the Reiki." So I said, "Okay." The way I do Reiki, I don't do symbols. Like Reiki is a very individual practice, so I pray over them. I'm Catholic, so I pray, but I let them know what I'm doing. And she was Catholic, so it worked out. So I said, I'm just going to put my hands over the energy centers of your body, and I'm just going to pray. And I noticed she had the healing water. And after I had gone through, and you just simply hover over the different body parts and you keep moving around. She goes, "Oh my God, Diane." She goes, "I've never felt so light." She just loved it. Now she had a trach, but you can hear her words come out a little garbled, but I got used to hearing her. She was one that could talk a little bit more, but she felt wonderful after that. And something happened in her that she's just more motivated. I'm not just going to say it's from the Reiki. I think a lot of it had to do with her faith in God, and also with the other therapists come in. There was an occupational therapist that came in. It was wonderful. And physical therapy. She started doing it more and more, and she told the doctors, "I don't need this trach no more." She goes, "Take me down to the ER, take it out." No, she goes, "I want to just stop breathing." And her parents were like, she wasn't married, she was like in her 50s, but her parents are like, I don't know, the doctor did it. And she breathed on her own, and she walked out of that hospital a few
Oh
months
my
later.
God.
Yeah, so I have that in my book. So
Yeah.
I put a lot of success stories in my book, not using names, no identifiers, but
So if you go to a wedding, you can tell what's wrong with everybody at the table.
I do have. I'm intuitive. I don't call myself a medium, but I do. I definitely have psychic ability. It's in my family. I mean, some of my cousins are much more gifted with that. Like they actually see spirits. I don't see. Thank God I don't, because I think that would scare me.
It's not that I don't think they exist, but I really don't want to see
I
them
know.
because I don't know what I'd do with them.
I know. I have a different gift. I feel things. Like I'm an empath. So and I think that's why I ended up in mental health. So I can
What's an
actually.
empath?
An empath is just, you could call it a very sensitive person, and I can actually
You read
feel
people.
feel the feelings that that person
You
has
read people.
very deeply. And I think we all have psychic ability, but I noticed I'm much more sensitive to it. I just know it affects me more.
I think it's
So,
partially a personality trait that you're open to people.
yeah,
Because I think in communication, what we all do to a certain extent is we try to get our message across and we're not listening.
yeah,
And it's the listening thing that enables you to
right,
understand what's going on with the other person.
right.
So now you have a number of books here.
Yes,
So let's not
So these two
ignore
are the
them.
same. So it's the same book. So I published with Balboa Press, which is a division of Hay House. So it's like a hybrid company. So I have copyright. So I did put it on Amazon as well. And with Amazon, I did the hardcover. So that's the same. And the second book is meditation. So I made my own meditation book, which this is the same as this one as well. This is the Amazon, and that's the Balboa Press
Okay.
version. So I wrote 18 guided meditations. That was always my favorite activity out of all the holistic healing
most peaceful.
modalities. I love guided meditation. So I kind of know what works, what doesn't, what people are more drawn to. So I kind of made an array of different guided meditations, starting out with very simple breathing techniques to like very simple words, just like let it go, just saying those words, let it go, and just taking that in. And coordinating the breathing with that, that seems to really work a lot with patients. And then I put it on audio. Balboa Press, they didn't want me
Great
to use
idea.
my
Audios really sell.
yeah, yeah. And I wanted to use my voice, and Balboa Press says, "No, we'll hire an actor." I says, "No, no, I'll use my voice only because I've done it for so long." So I did. I went to a studio and I had it done professionally, and I created my own CD, and I include that link in the book. So if they get the book, they can go to my website and download it for free. So they kind of get 2 for 1.
So you say you're retired now.
I'm partially retired. I shouldn't
Because
say retired
you have
because
such a wealth of experience that, I always feel when somebody retires who has this kind of wealth of experience that there's a loss somehow.
yeah,
But putting it in your books and on
Yeah.
audio is a way to
yeah,
keep that knowledge going. Because I have to choose my words carefully here. Those of us who have had careers and have retired from them and have this wealth of experience, people should understand that older people do have a lot of experience and
Yeah.
understanding, and it can still be tapped into and utilized.
yeah,
So,
true.
I'm glad that you're doing this. What's your new book? You have one coming out.
Yes, I do. It's called He Is Watching. I would say that's the most challenging book for me. I love it. It's a little bit more religious. This is definitely spirited, but that's more religious. And it's about God. And I think what inspired me to write that book was the movie The Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you saw it.
No.
So, yeah, the child sex trafficking, and I worked with children that were abused in my early days. And it never leaves you, like what they went through.
No.
And
No.
then hearing about all that's going on in this world, and
Yeah.
I don't know, I just wanted to do a book for him and dedicate it to Jesus, and to really let's see what's going on in this world. And so I interviewed I think 8 or 9 ministers, one priest, of the Christian faith, and I just wanted their perspective on things. And I got into a lot of hot topics that maybe they don't want to talk about, like abortion, child sex trafficking,
Yes.
and I included peer-reviewed research, and it's coming good. It's one of those books that you do. I had to step back a little bit. Like last month, I interviewed an exorcist, and I had to step back for a minute because it did scare me a little bit. And he was lovely, wonderful person to interview, but I mean,
Well, people who actually,
Yeah.
get messages and see things and whatnot, it is scary. The
yeah,
people that the FBI uses to try to find murderers and whatnot.
yeah,
Can you imagine living with that?
I know.
That's heavy stuff.
It is heavy stuff, and it was even heavy to hear. Sometimes it's heavy to hear. So
Mm.
it's a book that I think needs to be out there. I think there needs to be awareness, especially for parents today, to really be aware of there's dark energy out there. There's bad people out there, and
Stranger danger.
yeah, really be careful with your children and where you travel and where you go, and
Who you talk to.
yeah.
I was
So,
almost kidnapped as a teenager.
oh wow.
And I always believed that the reason why I wasn't, because I grew up in the city at a time when you were 11 years old, you got on a bus and a subway, nobody said anything, your
Yeah.
mother said, come home when the street lights are on, it was a different
It
world.
was. I
And
know.
I think back on that, and I didn't even
Yeah.
tell my parents about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't hurt. I was
Yeah.
smart enough to just back away.
Yeah.
But I think what would have happened to me had I just said yes and
Yeah.
gotten in that car.
I know. I know.
Scary stuff.
I know.
So,
It's
but
scary.
I also see in this new book that you have some biblical background in there,
Yeah, I do.
historical background. Sounds like a
Yeah.
really fascinating
Yeah,
book. I look
it'll
forward
be
to it.
good. Yeah, so it's a lot of it's my I give a summary, my reflections. I really get in depth with the interviews. The interview questions are a big part of it, and then I always end my books with questions for reflection for the reader. And it kind of it's very good with comprehension of what you just read. So because I'm a nonfiction writer, so I always want, and I think of my students because I put my books on my syllabus. The first two books definitely are because I could use it in the field of recreational therapy. But even with this book, it's good for anybody, regardless of you're a student or just a reader, to really reflect on what I just said and just to give you food for thought. No opinions anyway, but what did you get out of it?
Right, you
Think
were a
about it.
teacher as well.
Yeah,
That's what a teacher does.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
exactly.
educator in me.
So, how have you been getting your books out and the message out?
Well, Balboa Press does a press release. They don't do advertisements, so I try to on my social media. I always try to send things out on all my links, but I do ads on Amazon a lot. Sometimes I do Google ads. I try different things, see what works.
Wait, you belong to professional
Yeah,
organizations. For instance, if you could contact those professional organizations and ask them if there's any way they can promote the book by asking the professionals who have an office or whatnot to have the books in the office.
yeah,
That's one way to go,
yeah,
through your professional organizations.
yeah.
So, do you do social media?
I do. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. LinkedIn was my favorite, and Alignable. I love Alignable. So I did a few podcasts. Eric, I don't know if you know Eric Koppelman from iRadio. He's from Long Island. I met him on Alignable, so I did some podcasts with him for a while. And then I met Crystal Gother. She's C&J Promotions. She does the marketing for me, and she's very reasonable. So
Have you ever done the 50 plus fair?
no, well, I never know.
If you email me and ask me that question, I'll send you whatever information I have because you would be perfect for that,
Okay.
taking a booth there and promoting your books because
Sure.
it's all about things that, I mean, they call it 50 plus, but it's actually for almost everybody. But, there's a lot of stuff about the atrium and assisted living and stuff like that, but it isn't
Right.
all that. So,
Yeah.
actually, the Long Island, the lady who does matchmaking,
Oh, okay.
she's there.
Oh,
I go and tease her.
oh. Yeah, I do the psychic fairs. So there are different fairs I try to go to.
Yeah.
So, and the Long Island Authors Group is how we met.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
so, yeah.
And yeah,
So
well,
involved in
there's
that.
definitely authors groups.
Yeah.
I don't know any other authors group on the island that does the kind of promotion we do at Long Island Authors Group. I
Yeah.
mean, have you signed up to do a lecture at the iSlip?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'll
good.
be there December 2nd. So if anybody's interested, I'll be doing a book talk then. So
Excellent. Yeah. That's a nice venue too.
yeah.
So, and of course, you have to scare up your own audience. She does advertising, but
Yeah.
pretty much that's, those of us who do this kind of
Yeah.
publishing, we have
Yeah.
to do all of our own.
Yeah.
We have
That's
to
true.
keep changing those hats.
I know. I always put everything out on social media. And I do have a website. Balboa Press did create an author's website for me, which I use. It's
I
very
went on it.
simple. It's
Yeah.
www.dianecalabrese.com.
That's the best way to do it, just your
Yeah.
name, because people won't forget it. We
Yeah.
have about a minute and a half left. What advice would you like to give in any form, whether it has to do with your profession or to other authors?
I would say just if for author advice, I would say if you have a book that you've been wanting to write, do it. Just do it. Follow your dreams. don't worry about the obstacles, have faith, have faith in God. If you're a believer in God, or just have faith and
Yourself.
go out there and do it. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. If you don't want to, I publish through Balboa Press, and I know some of these publishers do costs for publication. So if you don't have the means to do that and you just want to get the book out there and not have these expenses, you can always publish on Amazon KPD.
KDP.
Yeah, so it doesn't cost anything. I mean, I did both. I did Balboa Press, but it did cost me
Oh,
a lot,
my first 4 books, yes.
And
Yeah.
the royalties are only 25%, where, and then if you go to Amazon, it's only 10%. But when you
Mhm.
publish through Amazon alone, your royalties are much better.
Yeah, oh yeah, and
So-
also, well, you have to advertise, you have to take,
Yeah.
you have to take control of all of
Yeah.
that advertising.
Yeah.
So, I look forward to working with you on Long Island Authors
Well,
Group. It
thank
was
you.
great to
Thank
have
you
you.
for having
Thank you so
me.
much.
Thank you for
And
having me.
congratulations on your imminent grandmotherhood.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'll be a grandmother for the first time. I'm so
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, I bet.
So excited.
Do you know if it's a girl or a
A
boy?
boy, yeah, John Michael's his name.